Hello bookworms, I'm Becca and these are the best and worst books of 2017. 2017 was a pretty decent reading year for me, but I definitely did not read as much as I wanted to, and there were a handful of books that I really loved this year, and then there were a few that were not so great. So I'm going to start out with the 3 books that I consider the worst reads of 2017, and then we are going to count down my top 7 books of 2017. My 3 least favorite books are in no particular order because I just disliked them equally. First is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I read this for Booktubeathon, I believe, and I was expecting something completely different than this. It was so bizarre. It took me forever to get through, and it should not have because it is seriously thin. And yeah, I did not enjoy it. So I realized that the theme for these 3 books is that they were books I was kind of excited for and then they just fell flat. So the second book is Schizo by Nick Sheff. This is about a teenage boy who is struggling with schizophrenia, and he is also haunted by the grief of the disappearance of his younger brother. So everything is going fine, and then he stops taking his medication because he meets a girl and thinks that he's cured, and he's not. And even though the story was like kind of gripping, I thought that it would be much different. I didn't hate it, but it was just not what I was expecting, so I ended up not loving it. And the last one of my least favorite reads is The Art of Not Breathing by Sarah Alexander. I feel like this book had huge potential. It's essentially about this teenage girl who, when she was 10, her twin brother drowned, and now the story is taking place when she's like 15 or something like that. 16. She is convinced that his drowning was not an accident, even though they were 10 years old and they were way out in the deep water. She thinks that something else happened to him. Spoiler alert, he just drowned. So that is what I did not like about this book, is that it had this like air of mystery, even though in the beginning it's basically saying, no, he drowned. And then Elsie is like, but what if he didn't? But at the end, some other characters are like, no girl, he just drowned. And then Elsie is like, oh, yeah, you're probably right. Like, what? So basically this whole book is pointless, and I'm upset about it, okay? Okay. So, now that we have those terrible things out of the way, we can move on to my favorite books of 2017. Woo! Okay, before we jump in, I just want to say that I cheated. I seriously have been grappling with how I'm going to place 3 different books on this list because I did want to rank them, and I wanted to do an honorable mention, but it just doesn't feel right to do an honorable mention. So I decided that my 7th place is 2 books. The first one in that 7th place is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This book is inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's a super important book for this year. I definitely think that in years to come, we are going to see it become a classic, and hopefully it will end up being taught in schools. It centers around our main character, Star, who witnesses her best friend be shot by a white police officer, and she is the sole witness to this happening. It was really freaking good and eye-opening, and I still think that everyone needs to read it. And the second book that made it into my number 7 spot is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Gasp, I know. John Green book all the way at the end of my list. But this book has anxiety representation unlike any book that I've ever read in my entire life, and I freaking loved it. It's also an own voices novel about a main character who is struggling to keep her OCD under control, and she deals with these thought spirals, which was absolutely anxiety inducing to read. Even though the plot was not the best that I've ever read, I actually didn't care for the plot of the book at all. I think that Asa as a character was truly amazing. Okay, coming in at number 6 on my list is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This is a historical fiction. It was really interesting to read because I read a lot of historical fiction set during World War II, but I've never read one from this angle. So the reason that this is at my number 6 spot is because it made me want to go out and learn more about untold stories during that time period, and it really made me fired up because why didn't I learn about this side of World War II when I was in school? Coming in at number 5 on my list is Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. This is a middle grade book about a girl who lives with cerebral palsy, and she is nonverbal. And it's basically about her struggle because she knows that she is smart and she knows that she is different, but she doesn't have the words to express herself until one day she gets a machine that they can program in words and phrases, and she is able to talk through that. So she starts being in mainstream school and everything like that. And the thing that I love about middle grade books is that most of the struggle ends up being like about friendships, and you kind of talk about how to be a nice person. And I just love the simplicity and also the complexity of middle grade books, where it's such a simple story but it's so profound. And I wish that there were more young adult books that had these types of plots and messages throughout them. Coming in at number 4 is one that I literally just finished, and technically I finished it in 2018, but just, you know, it's fine. And it is Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore, and this book is stunning. I mean, can we talk about the cover? This book is about a family that has the ability to grow flowers from their hands, and they are cursed. If they fall in love too deeply, their lovers vanish. So it's just a family of women. I loved it. I loved it so much. The writing was so beautiful. The characters were so compelling. The mystery at the end, oh my gosh, I just could not even handle it. It was so good. Like, I did not know that the whole book was going to be leading up to the ending that this book had, and I was living for it. Alright y'all, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. These are my top 3 favorite reads. Coming in at number 3 is The Lake Effect by Erin McCahan. I love this book for so many reasons. This is an absolutely hilarious YA contemporary about a boy who goes to work as a caretaker for an elderly woman in a beach house, and she teaches him about life, about death, and it is just so good. Also, this book takes place in my home state of Michigan at beaches that I have been to, so it was just an absolutely amazing reading experience through and through. And yeah, coming in at number 2 is Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. If you don't know and you've been living under an absolute rock, this book is about a teenage girl who is really struggling to keep her OCD in balance as well. Samantha is friends with this mean group of girls, so she is nervous about her friends finding out that she has OCD and obsessive thoughts. So she tries to keep it a secret until one day she makes a new friend named Charlotte, and Charlotte introduces her to this underground poetry group in her school, and Samantha starts making a lot of new friends. She meets a boy, and she really starts learning to love herself and becoming more herself. And I love this because I've never read about a character that like goes to therapy, so that was a really unique aspect to include in it, and just what a huge role her therapist played in her life. It was really good. Alright y'all, the moment that you have been waiting for. My number 1 favorite book that I read in 2017 is A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sarah Bernard. Is anyone surprised? I mean, come on, this could have been places 1 through 7 for the next 5 years to come, because this book is so amazing, and I know that everyone probably thinks I'm overhyping it, and I probably am, but this is the first book that I read with a deaf main character and anxiety rep and sign language, like integrated into the story, that didn't make it seem like it was a book trying to educate you about deaf awareness and deaf issues, like pushing it in your face, like some books and TV shows like to do. I'm looking at you, Switched at Birth. This is probably the best romance that I will ever read in my entire life ever. Just ever. I'm not gonna be able to find anything more relatable than this, so I've stopped looking. It is probably the most well-rounded book that I have ever read, and I don't even know. I've been searching for something since I've read this book, and I don't think that I will ever find anything that will fill the void that this book has left. It is that good. There you guys go. That is my best and worst reads in 2017. Let me know what books you enjoyed and did not enjoy so much. I look forward to sharing my reads with you more in 2018. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below to see more bookish videos. That's all I got for you guys today, and I will see you next time.